Hi guys, welcome to Statistics 101. The aim of this presentation is to hopefully stimulate interest in at least some of you to take up statistics once you join college. Statistics is fun and we're going to show you how. Why don't we get straight into it? So what is stats? Stats is basically the study of the collection, analysis, interpretation, presentation and organization of data. But you know what guys, this is really boring already and I can sense that a lot of you are already going to sleep. Right? So let's look at it from a different. So statistics is a way to get information from data. What does this really mean? How does the whole process start and finish? So you take data. Data is all around you. You can take data for you can collect information about absolutely anything and then put it together. But without analysis, all this data is pretty much meaningless, which is why we use statistics to draw inferences from the data. What it's actually doing is helping us make sense of things around us through intelligent study. And that's the biggest takeaway that you're going to get from this entire presentation. But wait, there's more up ahead. Descriptive statistics is what you're going to be studying in college, with basically a method to organize, to summarize, and it helps you present data in a very convenient and informative way, right? So I can sense that we're going back into a very academic mode. So let's try explaining this in a much more interesting way. Do you feel your life is hitting a speed bump sometimes? Do you think that you have a lot of obstacles? Well, you know what? Let's investigate this a little closer. Look, Look closer at this speed bump. What does it look like to you? This one right here. It's the normal curve. All your life, every single speed bump can be analyzed and everything can be presented if you only understood how to take all your problems to put that into an organized way, and then you can draw inferences from it. So coming back to serious stuff, what is the normal curve? The normal curve is basically showing you that all data, when eventually compiled and put together graphically, conforms to the bell curve. A bell curve is, well, a bell curve because it looks like one. But what does this mean? What you see here, what you see right here, is the green line in the center, which is the mean. Now, 50% falls on the left and 50% falls on the right. That means that in the entire blue zone, you have 100% of every single point of data. Now, depending on where it is in this bell curve, it will show you the probability of that point or that number or that data point actually happening or occurring. So with 99% probability, if that is your control limit, you will know exactly the probability that a certain event is going to happen based on your data, right? Unlike your girlfriend. So very often in our lives we use these three terms interchangeably: mode, median and mean. Well, that's incorrect. Before you actually start statistics, let me clue you in on what these three mean. Let's assume you have a huge bunch of data. The one figure or the one number that happens or occurs the most is your mode, basically the most common guy in your entire data set. The median is the middle score. What does this mean? You take a knife and you chop your data straight down the middle. That number that gets hit straight in the middle is the median. That is, when you take your entire data set, you arrange it in a certain order and then you cut it in half, that number becomes your median. Your mean is something that we use far more frequently than median and mode. Mean basically means you're taking all your numbers, taking the arithmetic average and presenting that to show that as a representation for the entire data set. So very often you say what is the average of the entire data, and that will give you some idea of the entire range, even though the range could be something completely different. So let's actually work this into a real case, all right? So 11,000 people apply to ISB every single year. The ISB on average takes about 800 students, which means the probability of getting into ISB is about 7%, 7.27% if you actually were to go down to that level. But wait, that means that we are awesome and that you also may be awesome in the future if you work hard enough. But hang on, statistics helps us take it to the next level. If you're an engineer, we know that you have a 70% chance within this 7.27, and that works out about 5%. If you're not an engineer, statistically, that's about 2%. What is correlation? Correlation is something we still use very, very loosely, but we have decided to present this to you to help you understand this with a very morbid or let's say a very happy statistic here. We're basically showing you the correlation between math doctorates awarded and suicides by hanging, strangulation, and suffocation. Well, the humor element aside, it shows you that if you were to take two very random sets of data, surprisingly, you will see some correlation that might help us make sense of the madness that is life and all things that are happening around us. Correlation, in a nutshell, effectively means that we're trying to find trends. We're trying to understand data by seeing trends in them, right? So let's take this to the next level. What is a negative correlation? Well, on the y-axis you have Tinku visits, and on the x-axis you have your CGPA. You will see that as your CGPA goes down, the need for you to actually consume and drown your sorrows in alcohol substantially decreases, right? So this is a negative correlation. People with low GPAs drink more. People with high CGPAs, well, not strictly true, but they are likely to want alcohol far less. So, so what exactly is a positive correlation? Well, on the y-axis you have buckets of tears, and day 0, day 1, day 2, day 3 represent your placement days. As the days go by, when you're not being placed, the buckets of tears that you shed are bound to exponentially increase. So this is a positive correlation, but not a positive message. We essentially say that as the days go by of you not being placed, you're going to cry more. So isn't that a reasonable assumption? Well, I think so, and I've already been what Cargill? Yes, I've already been rejected by one company. So this works very well for me personally. Well, personal story aside, don't be casual, be causal. What does this mean? It means that statistical tests help us distinguish between causes and the resulting actions. So, when you perform an action, when you do something in the universe, it's bound to have a reaction. Well, when you understand the trends and the parallels that exist between these seemingly unrelated trends, you start making sense of things around you, and that's the power of statistics. Without getting too deep into statistical concepts that you're going to be studying anyway, this is what the bell curve looks like if you were to actually quantify it and have various ranges to show how likely an event is and how likely things are going to happen. Well, the 95% confidence interval is something that means that with 95% confidence, you can say that any point in that entire range is bound to happen, right? Well, if I were to liken this to your lives, well, most of your life is a 95% confidence interval, and random lucky moments in your existence eventually, like winning a lottery would be something that happens right towards the right side. So the two tiny bits on the left and right where the bell curve almost meets the x-axis are the one on the left shows a very small probability of something happening, and the one on the right shows an extremely high probability of something happening. So, the biggest takeaway from this entire charade is not to make you a statistics guru. The objective actually is to help you take a course in college called statistics that is very useful. A, it helps you communicate very intelligent and insightful information. You're not going to be making decisions based on your gut anymore. You will get rich faster if you manage to use statistics the way it's meant to be used. You take data and then you quantify it and you reach a reasonable conclusion. And you also sound a lot more intelligent using statistics in your daily speech and life. Well, don't use too much of it, you might just lose all your friends. So, at the end of So remember guys, stats is awesome. You are a statistic too. All of us are. All over the data points for the game called life. And the way you actually work this data is how you're going to come out on top. Which is why we strongly encourage you to take up statistics when you eventually get through to college. Bye bye.